On March the 8th, 1969, Britain's two most notorious gangsters, the Kray twins, were sentenced to life imprisonment for murder, with a recommendation that they serve not less than 30 years.
Violet, their mother, was immensely respectable. I mean, I knew her really quite well. She was a sort of Cockney Queen mother. And, you know, her boys were her bunny rabbits, and she never, you know, her boys would never do anything. And she genuinely believed it.
They idolised the mother. Not so much the old man. No, they used to have their rows with the old man because he didn't like what they was doing. You know, no one likes their children to be like they was.
When I was a kid, we all looked up to different people. They might have been a footballer or a fighter, most certainly a fighter, boxer, or a villain who fought in the street. Tony Muller was one. He was heavyweight fighter and he was heavyweight villain. And then there's Tommy Smithson. He used to fight in the merchant sea as a sailor. Lots of fighters from the area, you know.
The old grandfather was a hero for them. He was called Cannonball Lee, the Southpaw Cannonball. He used to be an old boxer who then did musical turns.
Well, it was like a normal thing, an old bare-knuckle fighter them days. My grandfather was a bare-knuckle fighter. Twins idolised him. It was honest money, hard money. And I think that was the reason why everyone in the East End wanted to box.
We started off by going to a boxing fair that was in Bethnal Green Road. And we went to this fairground and we were so excited, but he couldn't forget about boxing afterwards. We just got carried away with it.
I came back to the club and there was Buller Ward, who was one of our customers. All of a sudden, Reggie's having words with him in the corner of the club. The next thing you know, Reggie gives him a punch.
When he threw me these punches, I said to him, if that's the hardest you can hit, you'll have to do a lot better than that.
And they just pulled out a blade and cut him right across the face.
You had to have about 30 stitches, 36 stitches, something like 32 stitches, I'm not quite sure.
Didn't it ever cross your mind, Tony, that you could stop this by calling the police?
By the time you'd have called the police, they'd have got him, Krays would have gone. Apart from that, there would have been repercussions afterwards. They could always come back here, whereas you could never find, the police could never find them.
It's very difficult to apologise in some cases, but not in others. But I suppose if I've been a bit too violent over the years, I'll make some apology about it, but there's little that I can do about it now. So again, it's no good reflecting back.
Where they drank, girlfriend's house, wife's house, all that information. And we were just waiting for the off.
The call to arms never came. The Richardson gang were involved in a shootout at Mr. Smith's club in South London. Almost the entire Richardson firm were immediately arrested. George Cornell was one member of the Richardson gang not present at the shooting. But Cornell made the fatal mistake of drinking on the Krays East End patch the following night. Ronnie Kray went to the pub with Ian Barry and Scott's Jack Dixon and shot Cornell dead. The Krays felt invincible. To enhance their reputation, they hatched an audacious plan to spring one of England's most dangerous criminals from Dartmoor prison, Frank Mitchell. The authorities launched a massive search. The Krays arranged for Mitchell to hide out in a flat tended by Scott's Jack Dixon.
He was already in the flat when I went in. I put my hand out as if he was a long-lost friend, because we'd already heard so much about Frank. He was a giant of a fella, a bit simple in his ways. I dare say that you couldn't pick a fight with a man like him.
I don't know why the twins thought they could control him when all the authorities, psychiatrists, mental institutions,
Brampton, Broadmoor, they'd all failed. But they, for some reason, thought they could control them, but they couldn't. And he started getting a bit edgy, and he said if the twins didn't come and see him, he'd go and see them. He knew where they lived because they'd been writing to him when he was away, and they took this as a threat. And this plot was hatched to get rid of him.
They had their reputation to live up to, and if they offered him up to the police and got him arrested and sent back to prison, how would that look and how would that stand? So Ronnie being Ronnie, he wanted him to disappear off the face of the earth. I could perform these sort of tasks without any problems, and I said, but this is the last one. One said, you know, I'm not getting involved in any more after this, you know. This is it. I said, do this one favour for me, you know. And it was Christmas, building up to Christmas week, and I've got a business to run, I've got kids to like the boozer to look after, and all the things that were going on at the time. Bits of aggro indoors. I mean, you get all this, and then this is on top of it all. You know, it's the last thing I wanted. I needed to do or be asked to do. I was very reluctant, really, but to give me word, I said I'd do it. I'd take care of it.
11 days after Mitchell's escape from Dartmoor, the twins arranged for Freddie Foreman and an odd gunman, Alfie Gerard, to kill Frank Mitchell. Foreman, with the help of a trawlerman, disposed of the body at sea. Ronnie's thirst for murder was out of control. Reggie found it difficult to resist Ron's violent demands. A local villain, Jack the Hat McVitie, had upset the twins and was unfortunate enough to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Whenever I see the film Mean Streets with De Niro playing the part of the guy with a hat who causes all this mayhem, that's Jack the Hat, that character. When I look at it, you know, completely untrustworthy.
He didn't care tuppence about them, Jack. He wasn't frightened of them. No. And this is where he was an embarrassment to them. The Krays tried to put him down, like, oh, he's nothing, like he's a drunk and a tuppenny halfpenny thief, and he was a bloody good thief.
We was in the Carpenter's Arms, the pub there then, at the time in the East End. And there was no sign of any agitation, no problem. There was Ronnie, Reggie, it was all there. Even their parents were there. So there was no thing, and we left with two other men, me and my brother. And by chance, we happened to go to the Regency.
Who should turn up? Jack the Hat. Let's have a drink and all the rest of it. No, we're all right, Jack. And so there's loads of people.
I get a phone call from my doorman saying Reggie's in the foyer, could I go and see him? He's got Ronnie Hart and Ronnie Bender with him. So he said, Jack's downstairs. He said, I'm going to kill him.
Well, the next day I'm called upstairs in the office by Tony Barry, and there was Reggie and Ronnie Hart. He just says, who wants to see Jack? Is he down? I went, yeah. I'll bring him to a party. But at no time I knew it was going to happen.
Tony Lumbiana's gone back to look after Jack the Hat. Reggie's pulled a gun out in the office and said, look after that. He's give me the gun. As he did that, Ronnie Hart's pulled out a great big dagger, like a great big kitchen knife, and said, yeah, hold that as well. So I put him in the office drawer. About 15 minutes later, Hart's come back. She asked me for the knife then. I gave him the knife, said, Reggie wants you to take the gun round to Blonde Carroll's. So I said, well, if you don't take it round there, Reggie's going to come back and he's going to shoot Jack in your club. Well, we knocked on Blonde Carroll's door. Go down to the basement. I handed Reggie the gun. I've gone back to the club. Jack goes round to the party. And that was the last we saw of Jack. But the terrible thing about it is that it's really Tony Lumbiano who's the Judas in this whole saga. Without him, Jack would probably still be alive.
I would never put myself in that position again. It was wrong what happened to Jack the Hat. I'm going to say that. It wasn't very nice. He didn't deserve that. You know, if they had that argument with him, don't involve no one else.
We go along to Blonde Carroll's, thinking there's going to be this party, going to have a bit of a time there and get onto the West End. We go down the steps, Go into the room, Jack runs in. Where's the party?
I see Ronnie standing there, and these two fellas dancing. And all Ronnie did was bars past me, hit him with a little glass along there, and went, fuck off you, I've had enough of you.
Bit of an argument starts between Reggie and Jack. Reggie pulls a gun out. I think he's going to frighten him. You understand? Goes click, nothing works.
That was the first time I seen a gun. That time I seen nothing. And it didn't seem to me that they knew what they were doing.
I can't handle it. I walk out of the room and Connie White comes to me. I'm really upset. I'm torn between frustration, anger.
Well, they said that Ronnie was urging on doing Congress. It was not Ronnie Kray. I have no need to protect Ronnie Kray from anything. It was Ronnie Hart that held him. And he had him right behind, he had his arms pinned back and was always ready to do it.
I can't go to Jack's rescue. If you want to know what I really felt, I felt a coward. It's hard.
I never seen a knife. I don't know where the knife come from. It was over before it happened. What happened between him leaving that pub and meeting him at the Regency, something happened in that short period of time, within an hour.
I had a bit of an argument with him wrong, didn't I? I come to him wrong, didn't I? And it spurred me on, you know.
He stood there, and the words he says to me, fucking get rid of that Flanders train, that was it.
McVitie was stabbed to death. The Lambriano brothers, along with Ronnie Bender, cleaned up after the murder. Again, Freddie Foreman was asked to dispose of the body. Reggie had committed a very public murder.
The guy was at the edge of a nervous breakdown. His wife had just killed herself. He was drunk, he was drugged, he was dominated by his homicidal old twin. These were all the things that it was about.
On the morning of May 9, 1968, the Kray twins and other members of the firm were arrested by Nipper Reed and his team and charged with the murders of George Cornell, Frank Mitchell, and Jack the Hat McVitie. The trial of the Old Bailey was presided over by Justice Melford Stevenson and became one of the longest and most expensive criminal trials in English legal history.
When I started the investigation, I'd become a superintendent and posted to the murder squad. I'd made it. And then I went in to see the assistant commissioner, and he said to me, congratulations. Now, Mr. Reed, he said, I want you to do the Krays. I think we thought the best evidence probably was Cornell. If we won that and then went on to McVitie, the publicity that was associated with the first trial was such that it could be said we couldn't get a fair trial on the second one. And that was the arrangement that we said, well, we'll join the two murders and we'll leave Mitchell out, and then we'll have a separate trial for Mitchell. And that's what we did.
It was quite obvious they should have been tried separately. And I moved the court, moved Milford. He should try them separately, but I got him to stop the trial, said I could take the case to the Court of Appeal. They likewise refused. Backroom talk with the Court of Appeal judges, clerks. The government behind this, the Court of Appeal weren't going to interfere.
There were 10 men in the dock. Only 2, Ronnie Kray and Ian Barry, were on trial for the murder of George Cornell. The remaining 8 men sat in front of the jury, awaiting their trial for the murder of Jack McVitie.
Well, the judge turns around, Milford Stevenson, and he says, well, you must ignore the people sitting in the dock on the McVitie murder because they certainly didn't have anything to do with the Cornell murder. Likewise, with the Cornell murder, you must have nothing to do with the McVitie murder because it's the only connection is Ronnie Kray.
Well, it's one of the great trials of the 20th century. One of the great criminal trials. It's a great show trial. It was a mafia trial, and they conducted like a mafia trial right from the very beginning when the police convoy brought them into the Old Bailey.
Every single night, the television had come on, the news would be on the news. Every single night. Now, I mean, it was a trial by publicity.
Today, many judges would have reported newspapers and television for contempt. The Krays, in my view, were killed by publicity.
Of course it tainted the jury. I mean, all the whole circus must have tainted them.
Justice Melford Stevenson was legendary for imposing long sentences with terse and often corrosive remarks. He had acquired a reputation as Britain's toughest judge, terrifying defendants and barristers alike.
I've been doing criminal law for nearly 40 years, and I've never come across any case where any judge has behaved in that manner.
Oh yes, he tried to undermine our points and to underscore the points made for the prosecution. There's no doubt of that, but that's within the scope of a wayward judge anyway.
Well, if any good point was being said by defense witness, the judge would turn to the jury and literally smirk and turn his eyebrows up.
Ronnie was in the box. Melford said to him, "Mr. Kray, I think you've only said two things in the whole of your evidence. The first is the prosecutor's a big fat slob, and next, that I'm prejudiced against you, because I certainly am."
You know, Ron had murdered Cornell, no question, and Reg almost certainly killed McVitie. Yes, he did. But it was a muddle, and it was a mess, and a lot of other people were involved, and the truth didn't quite come out about it.
I think, really and truly, there was so much evidence against them. The twins should have put their hands up and said, "Look, we'll take it," because they was offered the deal that you take it, like you put your hands up to it, and all the rest can walk.
All of a sudden, you've got their own cousin, Ronnie Hart, done the right grassing anyway. He's told them exactly what's happened, and about half a dozen more of the so-called heavyweights on the firm have all grasped one another and grasped the twins.
When each of them were arrested, I interviewed them and said, "Look, this is your one opportunity. You'll never get another. I'm telling you now that I'm going to charge the Krays with murder, and there may be other cases as well. You've now got the opportunity, if you choose, to come on the side of law and order, to make a statement to me and tell me all you know about the Krays, and this is the only opportunity you'll get."
I pleaded guilty because I had no chance. The charge was harbouring Frank Mitchell, and I told him what it was all about. And then he said, "Can you tell me about the Cornell?" I said, "Yeah."
And Ronnie said, "We got Scotch Jack is going to take Cornell's murder. Ronnie Hart is going to take Jack the Hat, and we want you to take Frank Mitchell." So I thought about it just for a few seconds, and I said, "No, I ain't having that."
Of course, you can't ask a man to do that. What sane man's got to say, "Yeah, I'll put my hands up to a murder and get a life sentence for something I've not committed"? I mean, it's ridiculous to even think it, you know. Of course, he had to roll over. The loyalty of all the other gang members is something that's quite remarkable. They did not want to dissociate themselves with the Krays and in that way appear unloyal, because this was the structure, this was the society.
We're loyal to the culture. We're loyal to the friends that we've always known, the people we drink with, the people we eat with, the people we piss and shit with. You understand? Not the Krays.
I put them before my own family. You know, Chris just had to go along with it, whether he likes it or not. That was chosen, but I went down that road. And there was no going back.
They didn't have to go down. They could have done what I had done and what I done. They thought, well, the twins will get us off with this. They've got good lawyers, good barristers, plenty of money about for them. God knows what they paid. The rest of them had to get legal aid.
The administrative responsibility does not apply to someone who says, "I never did it." It's as one would say, there's an alibi and self-defense. You can't about. If he said, "Yes, I did it," then we look into what the state of his mind was at the time. But he always denied he did any of the offenses.
Mr. Foreman, I want you to ask me simply by saying yes or no. have you all reached a verdict in the case of Ronald Kray in the first indictment? Yes. Have you reached a second indictment? Yes. And Ben went back to say, and then how do you find Roger? And he said, guilty. And then he said, guilty. And I was looking down like this, and I couldn't look up. My eyes were full of tears. It was a bit of a, all of the work that we'd done was justified.
Well, the judge was so carried away by the duty he felt he had to put down the whole tribe that he dished it out to the lesser members as well. I never thought that Milford would swing with such violence.
I wasn't surprised at the sentences in any way. A gang of people that had ruled the East End of London by a regime of terror and fear had killed people coldly, analytically, motivelessly, in full view of other people, simply because they wanted to exercise their authority as gang leaders.
Reggie would have been in a place like this. This is a cell, it's not wide and it's not long, and you never felt the cold until you've been in somewhere like this. He might have had a few photographs and pictures on the wall, a bed there, maybe even allowed a bed cover and a radio, and that would have been his total existence.
Day to day, that's how you live it. That's how you live it. You survive it, you come out of it. But you can never forget it.
I've seen a man killed over a small transistor radio. Man walked by me and said, "Good morning, Chris," and walked in a cell and murdered a man with a homemade knife in cold blood over a small transistor radio. What price life?
A man who does more than 10 years is changed for the worse forever, I believe. An ordinary man of ordinary capacity, I think, is ruined by it. You've got to have some spark of genius or maybe a political ideal.
If Reggie Kray had expressed complete remorse some years ago when he's 30 years old, then the probability is that he would have been allowed out.
I think it was everything, the books and the films and everything that had gone around. And I do believe that when they sentenced Reg and Ron, when they sent them to prison and they locked the doors and they believed that they had well and truly thrown away the key, and that the next step would simply be obscurity. And in fact, the exact opposite happened. And the media interest grew and the public fascination grew. And the Home Office found itself 27 years down the road with two men who had become incredibly famous.
The idea of somebody who's in prison becoming the subject matter of a film is deeply unpopular. I think it's felt that somehow, even if it isn't financially, they will benefit. And benefit by the fame, if that is a benefit, by the notoriety.
The twins' mum, Violet, visited them twice a week until she died in 1982. Ronnie served most of his sentence in the psychiatric hospital Broadmoor. Do you think the law was a bit harsh on Reg and Ronnie Kray?
I think the law was very unfair to them. Very unfair. Ordinary nice people like yourself, untouchable in their world, and quite rightly, and women and children untouchable.
Even when their contemporaries had been released, the twins were refused parole. They weren't given the opportunity to leave their gangster days behind them.
It's surprising how many followers they've got all over the country, you know.
So how can they still do that? How can they still have that kind of charisma, if you like, all these years?
You never had gangsters like them, did you, in East End? You never had gangsters like them.
What sort of a legacy is it leave for young generations that are coming through to say, well, look what happened to them. You want to follow in their footsteps? The three brothers all died in prison. Sad story. And it doesn't advertise committing crime, does it?
Well, as London woke up on that sunny May morning in 1968 and two sleepy gangsters were driven at record speed to Scotland Yard,
We knew only one thing. The party was over, but it had been great while it lasted.
Please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly, moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.